You live. I live. We're live. Like somebody else was alive. But we're doing it now. So we live. And because it's moving, we're living. Am I being a goofball? Standard. Every day, every day. Am I being effective? Yeah. Am I a wizard? A what? You're a wizard, Harry. Sure. What else do you call someone that uses spelling to assert awareness, consciousness, and thus control over their environment? Certainly not an Archon. Unless. And that's the topic of this share. I want to thank Isaac for sending me this very good question. And what I shared with him, that I don't mind sharing with you in my emailed reply is, and like, I'll spare you the depth of his email to me, because when I answer emails, that's in this manner, which I'm wont to, then be assured that I'm not going to divulge fuck all, because that's not how I roll, except for the most like principled essence of what you're asking. And in this regard, how to fucking defend oneself against the Archons can be a simple seeming question, one that I've definitely seen in community chats, in times gone by. And my pet peeve is, and remains, is, as was, whatever, when people ask others, especially in their regard, community leaders who give of them their time, of their life force, to gift their whatever, like themselves, as in the form of whatever they're saying, asking questions that people like they've never asked fucking Google. When you don't have the presence of mind to seek to ask yourself a question that you're really just asking someone else, and like maybe they don't like, and if you're not like inclined or disposed, different words, but I mean them both, towards like not having your question answered in that moment, so you more or less immediately go to the internet, go to your books, go to your friends, go, and I mean that as like another avenue of discovery to answer it, because you're not relying on someone to just tell you, because you know that, one, that's not an answer, and two, there's nothing that anybody can tell you that won't lead to a better question. Then that same person asking whether the question is whether the time has been given to answer that question one way or another, has been offered. That information is not going to be used. The knowledge is not going to be used. Because if you can ask a question and then walk away with or without an answer, you're not really questing. And then further, it is downright disrespectful to essentially demand one's superficial queries to another who's spent their life discovering that for themselves. Just because, and this is the Archon grid, this is the deception that if we're not paying out of pocket with doll hairs or stones or weights or pounds, then, or even quids, then you're like entitled, that it's easy. Or when wisdom seems easily offered, that it has no value because, man, you could just fucking answer it. Just fucking answer it. That's like, it's just words. It's just like a few moments. When it's like a disrespectful return on all the life that has gone into figuring that shit out. It's like the analogy of the mechanic, the plumber, the electrician, charging $150 an hour. You give them a call to, fix something, and they come in and they fix it in like fucking 5 minutes, and then they charge you for the hour. You're like, what? It only took that long. How could you? It's highway robbery to get away to ask that. But you just chill. You want? Fuck. I'm gonna let my dog inside. Relax. I'm working. You're beautiful, though. And I always give you love. I always give you love. I love you too. Okay, fine. Yeah, and so like they offer, it's like, let me give you a few dollars. It only took 5 minutes, but it took all my years of expertise to do that in 5 minutes. Anyways, that's my preamble to tactics on delivering your self-sovereignty over what I'll begin to continue calling or terming Archons, because that's what we're addressing and how it's useful. How it relates is everything has the meaning that you give it. Everything has the power that you give it. And as it relates to Archons, I'm going to address it as far as we're going to relate to it in this conversation. We're going to address the umbrella of Archons as the fine line, man. It's because I'm not at all going to sit here and be like, well, you just give them your power and it's just got to take it back. That kind of response gets a solid fuck you, because if sovereignty were simple or superficial, then it wouldn't have a word. We wouldn't describe it. It would just be, and it would be pretty boring, which is more or less how we've arrived at where we are in our kind of spiritual cosmic adventure evolution. So let's give credence to the fucking enemy, right? Sure. Of the Archon. And I don't do this often because it's a wisdom love practice to not give without being asked. in a manner of one way or another. And then I'm also just a pretty private person, especially when it comes to my mental, spiritual, cosmic spelunking. But because I was asked in vulnerability, I will have like it's in my honor to honor that with my own vulnerability. So I guess I'll kind of continue with my experience with the Archons, one way or another. Why I kind of why I'm like looking at myself, not here, but here, noticing my hesitation to use that term is because my most frightful and horrifying and present experiences with that energy, I didn't connect to what people call archons. In retrospect, I can recognize that enough of the similarities to be like, okay, that was probably that, or that was definitely that. But I think it was a blessing and a curse, and not chance at all, but something that I cultivated, that I had the bulk of my experiences with that energy field from a place of non-specific identification. So this is my story, sort of. People can experience Archon attacks in the form of, what are they called? It's the word is escaping me because it's honestly, I'm deleting it from all of our fields, but it's like the Watchers, the gang stalking. There it is. The gang stalkers. And just for frame of reference, if gang stalking is not something that's familiar, you know what? Fuck it. Pause, Google, search, and come back. That I can recognize my experience with it. I defended without knowing that was what that was. So it's hard to talk about. It's hard to talk about this because it's done, but also horrifying is not a strong enough word. Terrifying is not a strong enough word. Fear would be a pale shape of an attempt to be analogous to the realms of experience that I lived in combating these energetic aspects. Yes, bro. You know, like sprouting trees. Hug. This also, okay, so it also has to do with what people call interference. So the first and most simple tactic, and essentially what I hugged to, is not giving my attention, ignoring, retaining my focus. And meditation in my like yogic devotion gave me the skill set to really apply that. Also, I have like my nervous system is wired as such that it can be, it would be like in the medical or educational or cultural industries, truly, be labeled as attention deficit, which essentially means not that I'm lacking at attention or that anybody really is in that manner, but it's like it's more like a refusing to ignore, and then finding the challenge in that. And I lived most of my life until I was 32, which I'm 34, but like really 33. That I didn't. That wasn't even in my awareness that I had this nervous system that was. And I mean this in the kindest, most like just creating in like distinction way. Like there was a pathology to it, which is again my way of saying, "Fuck, cool. I'm not alone. There are like other human beings that feel this way too," which was super relieving. But in my forays into the very physical, very tangible astral realm, the way that it first manifested, this Archon entity was was as interference that can be. For me, it was environmental sounds. Felt like there were helicopters constantly roaming, and when I looked, there they were. And I also recognized it as like never do wells, never do wells, like the people in my life that only take, that I had like recently, or even in that time, been struggling to release myself from, would come up the fucking woodwork to try and essentially distract and steal my energy. And as that continued to manifest, or rather as I continued on my mission, it would be just strangers. And this is where I feel like this is where I punched gang stalkers in the face. Like I just straight up did not avert my eyes. I did not look at them. I did not give them my visual attention, and I did not give them my emotional attention. And this was like this stood straight in the face, of all the societal and cultural conditioning, because not only are we unconsciously primed to just look around, keep looking around, and if there's somebody, just like address them with your sight, and then it like it's lifted into the realm of respect and politeness. Look people in the eye. Give them a smile, like address them, just like notice, like give them the attention of noticing them, or give them the respect of noticing them, and that is such a twisted layer of manipulation that is thievery and really steals people's power. Gosh, I love the way you frame things, bro. Like exactly, that's exactly, and then plus all the things that we're not saying, but feel and know and appreciate. That's how I feel. And that's more or less how I've always felt about it, because I only really came across it as a part of my identity at a stage in my life where I knew better. I just knew too much. And so I complied with the label as far as it was useful. It got me what I wanted. And and never, ever let it bring me down, because I only ever recognized it uh, as an attempt at terming my God-given gifted abilities, and that I had pursued and never ignored, to the sacrifice of everything. And that's kind of what it takes to um, this is kind of what it takes to defend yourself against against what we call the Archons, because what I've described so far is nothing compared to the tangibility and the physicality, the in my face nature that that these astral forms of assault took. There was a point in the war where seeing things take form, I'd already bypassed that as as normal. In that the most wondrous. Okay, I'm just noticing that my energy is fucking with the Wi-Fi, which it would, and it's like gremlins. Fuck gremlins. Gremlins can't touch me at all, ever. They run and hide, and they can't because I delete them. And not everybody is like that, but if you're fighting them, chances are you are. Like, it got to a point where at its like again, it's like it's most easy for my own courage to access, where I was seeing uh, beings in the line of my mission that were physically manipulating energy in the manner that I was at the time, in order to defeat me. It, I was being caused physical pain by these entities, and I won't even go further to add by my belief in them. Because hand in hand with the normalcy of these like really fantastic astral being is also the challenge of these aspects being a part of your reality that doesn't really get questioned. And I think that, well, I know that the highest form of assault that these energies have against us is our own ignorance, right? Because that's just all evil is the ignorance of the good. And so they impress their evil upon us, which is just our unawareness of truth. So as I embraced the good of the like astral that I was experiencing, I hadn't yet distinguished my own power, my own ability, my own participation with what I was experiencing as not good. as it got worse, uh, as it got worse, like things in my life, I want um, like lamp poles, street lights, would like metamorphose into these entities. Animals would literally, in like that kind of like phasey astral sight kind of way, change into monsters. And the way I kept defeating them was not giving them my fear. And this isn't the kind of thing where I was telling myself, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Instead, and this is again, like, there's no chance, it's just my interpretation of my reality. But for the first time, really, in my life, as fucked up and weird as everything was, I was living with purpose. I was feeling purposeful. I was doing, and from those points on, like I can't not. I'm living by action, a meaningful life. So it was a battle, and I am indomitable. It's like, bring it. And where it got scary and horrifying was when I was just trying everything I knew how to do, and it wasn't working. And fear was overcoming. At its worst, no, at its second worst. And I've yet to experience this level of physicality again. But I think that's because the good is still like gathering its energy to project in that manner, but also it doesn't desire it. So energy is not being like siphoned to that end. It's not the point. Whereas for lesser beings of thought, there was a utility in manifesting so tangibly. I'm going to come back to that. Thank you, because I want to address it fully. But there was a time, again, at its second worst, where I'm sitting on my couch and talk about gang stalking, like as real as if someone was standing across from me in physical beingness. There was like doppelganger entities that were, yeah, I guess, like stalking me. Now, this, when it was that bad, it was part of an episode of the worst. So it, once defeated, it couldn't manifest in that way. And I know in like a global way that power has been stripped from them. The idea of them, which is what we all are. And that was horrifying, but it wasn't the worst. And it'll take too much to explain. And this is not the forum. This is stuff that I would like, for instance, speak with you, Dave, about in person, gladly. There's nothing I would withhold, but it's not for here. But the destination was, and this happened more than once. This happened again, kind of later in a different way. Less visual, still feeling attacked. But I was like, I'm going to die. And I was trying everything. I'm going to die. I was trying everything. And it felt like dying. And I was witless with fear. Because what was intrinsic to my fear was my failure for what I was doing for us all. Facing those self-perceptions of inadequacy and inability. And when the physical attacks wouldn't stop, like basically it felt like a window of time shrinking, and everything I was trying to do was I was making the window shrink faster, but if I did nothing, the window would still just shrink. So squeezing these attempts and then failing in what I was really trying to do, arriving at like, I can't. And what that led to was the grace of God. And like I want to say her divine love, and addressing the lovers that in my appreciation, God isn't singular as much as the all wants to manifest. And I'm not going to get into that too much, but just addressing the mother aspect as well as the father. And I'll never forget it. I just threw out my arms and because I was too afraid to even cry, but I was there. I was wailing on the inside, and I was just I'm a good fucking man. And I've lived every single breath of my life in being that and trying, and not for judgment's sake. Although maybe sometimes in my own, but yeah, by my own estimation, I've tried always to rise to the occasion of goodness. All of this, everything that's happening right now, I've loved with all my heart. I've done everything. I've done everything I know how to do. I don't know how to do everything, and I can die. Fucking take me, because I know that above and under all is a God of love, and they know me. So fuck it, whatever. And I say it now with a tone of rebellion, but there was none of that. Like, right? It was all humility. It was all reverence, and it was all like I was like, I'm going to like I'm going to like a hell realm. Like but like it just all fell away to like uh, I can I can be tortured. I can be whatever because I know wherever I'm going, uh, I couldn't have done anything else differently to love more or be a better being for myself and others. And if that is where I go for all that I've tried to do, well then fuck it. Strap in, seatbelt, because that's all I am and it's all I got. And so I died. And I was rewarded with essentially a visual of that Archon entity energy manifesting, I want to say as a joke. Like it was like and the joke's on me. Like it was maybe the first glimpse that I didn't have the full awareness, but it was like the first glimpse that I kind of got that maybe the energy that I was calling other and is like enemy was actually just an aspect of me. Cause it was like goofing. It was almost like a gotcha, still alive. Ha 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 ha. And like I do this and I do this, but it kind of did that to me. And I didn't even feel relieved. It was like a fair enough. And I fucking went to bed. And I've been afraid of nothing since. No, I'm not afraid of anything in the same way, and that's a lot to be afraid of. The other time that I was certain I was going to die was a little more environmental. It felt like a little bit less Archon, like ineffable, and a little bit more like controller, like harp system killing / dying. Now I can look back and recognize that it wasn't that at all, even in like giving them my energy, but it felt like I was going to die. It felt like if I closed my eyes, I wouldn't wake up. And you know what? Coming back to that energy of like, I give myself to you. I give myself of myself to me, to you, to all, to love. Just realized I did that. Go MJ. And I woke up in the morning. It didn't all end there, but it gets better. Things when you make things change by how you look at them, things change. So I'm just going to kind of like sum my tactics, and then I'm going to, because you asked a really good question, Dave, or you were talking about something really good. And I'll actually preface it with the power of language, of energy. So I'm just going over to this tab, etymology or etymology dictionary. It's one of my favorite bookmarks. So Archon. Now, one of the 9 chief magistrates of ancient Athens, 1650s, from Greek Archon, or Archon, or however you want to say it, ruler, commander, chief, captain, noun use of present participle of archein, be the first, thence to begin from or with, make preparation for, also to rule, lead the way, govern, rule over, be leader of, and then a word of uncertain origin. Whenever you see I don't know or uncertain origin, you can also see hidden, being lied about. So clearly, like, there's some mystery to the word Archon, because what do? We reference them using our Bibles. We reference them using this and that, and yet when did the Bible? Was the Bible using the word Archon before 1650? Because it says that this word is referencing this. It's referencing 1650 to reference ancient Greece, which, if we just skip ahead, it's like, maybe everything we call ancient isn't so ancient. Maybe there's some bullshit here. But just highlighting Archon as ruler, commander, chief, captain, one of 9 chief magistrates. What's a magistrate? Well, if this like exploration of etymology isn't kind of lead you already, I'll like hop and skip you. Maybe whatever magistrate meant isn't what it means now. And what we call the 9 chief magistrates, or even if there were people that did designate themselves in these roles, maybe they were a mimic of something more divine, because it's not a mistake there were 9. But Archon, arch, right? So let's look at arc. Late 14th century, part of a curved line, from Old French arc, bow, arch, vault, from Latin arcus, a bow, arch, Proto-Italic arquo, bow, Old Norse arrow, arc from just ur, right? And it kind of goes on. So it's like, now we're getting a little sense of like Archon. What is it implying? Part of a curved line, and like it says, in reference to like the horizon above the sky. I was like, well, oh wow, there's more to that than people that understand more to that are trying to explain. But it is if you want to dismantle power, you need to know its parts. Now, this is my way. I look at the language, I look at the words, and how I frame them in my mind, blah, 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 blah. But however you can dismantle your own sense of meaning of anything, you need to know how it's fit together to break it effectively, right? Because it's not as simple as smashing, right? It's like some things you smash, when you smash them, they blow up and then you die. Some things when you smash, they just get ugly, but they still work, right? So to have a thing not work, you need to know how it works, and ultimately everything works only within yourself and through yourself. So really, however you wish to create context is how within context you can unpack it and dissolve it. And then arc, electrical arcs, and arch, which is chief, principal, extreme, ultra, primitive. This is like the prefix of arch. So we're seeing a lot of those similar themes. And then arch is a noun circa 1300. It was also used as a bow, as well as like the structure arch, which stands when supported only at the extremes. Archways. So those are all, I mention all that as tools. I may or may not reference them more fully, but this is the power of dismantling, of creating awareness, context from which you can then grasp and pull apart, or even insert yourself, like fucking Archon. Okay, cool. I'm Archon, So using those kind of linear definitions as context, Archon, what's an Archon? Really, anything that we're giving power over ourselves, anything that we that's supported only at its extremes. So if we can find its center, its middle, is where we'll find the narrow gate, that which through which we will find our walkway, our path. And more tangibly for myself, the courage, heart, courage, the root word of courage, wasn't synonymous with bravery. Bravery was more like steeling yourself, whereas courage was useful to express as like that with that attribution that we use to describe what it takes to take what's in your heart out and make it manifest. And that's truly how one can defeat their own archons, but also once you can like kind of wrap yourself in and around, it's like the Gordian knot. Once you can untie the untieable, you can apply it to everything and anything. And it all really comes down to your observation and your perception. So for me, it was quite literally not looking at the apparitions. But also, if you don't look at a thing, but give it emotion, then you are looking at the thing, just not with your eyes. So for me, there was no fear when I was being deleterious of these entities. And what helped was feeling purposeful, being on mission. Like I was doing something and nothing was going to take me from that. But when they take on the form of your mission, shit gets cray. And it's then that you basically at once ask yourself to be steadfastly true to yourself, and then give yourself the tools of their disruption, right? Because for me, it was not ignorance, but literally starvation, and also like truth awareness and what I mean by those words. But for another, they could maybe perhaps imagine themselves in like mighty giant god form with a big ass axe or a Gatling arc gun, or however they imagine the enemy, they imagine themselves just fucking more badass and then defeating them. That was not my path, but I can imagine that working. And then in that imagination being like, squish, done, like you no longer exist, or like setting up like, and like, this is now like, this is my little Pandora's box for that entity. Whenever it enters my realm, I've already kicked its ass. So all I have to, like, if they can enter my realm, then they immediately come into the presence of this Pandora's box. And what this motherfucker does, it doesn't let shit out. It sucks motherfuckers in, because I've already let everything out. At the very bottom of Pandora's box is what we call hope, and that I've let out too, and that's what I'm giving my energy to. So now everything else that isn't that gets sucked back into the box, because Mother Nature abhors a vacuum. Like, right? I just made that up, but now that would work for me. And coming to believe in your own power is a battle and a fight in and of itself. And there's nothing that I could possibly say that will win that for you, except that when you feel alone, you're never alone. When it feels like you're fighting only those things, you are. But just as along with you There are others that have, will, and are presently fighting their own things with you, and it doesn't get more together than that. In that, like, that can be all the way. And I don't know if this is the case, but it may be. It may be just so that until you die, until you lose to whatever you think you've lost, you won't win. But so long as you don't take your life, maybe it can't be taken from you. And while I was experiencing this, no matter where I looked, no matter how I confided, it not like I wasn't finding experiences to parallel mine at all. So it really felt like I was alone. But if you're watching this, then you never need to feel that again or anymore. Because it happened. And I won, we won, and you'll win too. Okay. Now I'm going to enjoy. I'm gonna actually do the ADD thing last. Energy is a good. To address your inquiry most finely, I would say that there was times where, for breadth of frequency and lack of like divine resonance, like accessibility, that it got super hazy, because ultimately it was all good. Or rather, again, because it's not, I don't know, it's just not useful to just always go there, right? Distinction, context to describe livability. There were times where it was just like, I just didn't know I had access to more good than the good I was perceiving as more or less in dynamic and like not fun balancing with the bad, in so much that like really it was a contest. But none of that is false, because I was battling externally and internally in my perception for what I perceived as external and internal. So in a way, anyone can really skip ahead to like all sovereignty, but to manifest one's own field modality in that way with others, you have to have some form of resonance with their fields. And if you skip all the suffering, you skip all the winning, the fighting, the battling, the self-discovery, then there's no bridge with which to connect to others. And then you're useless, a little bit. Or rather, your uses are really limited. I'm being judgmental, but it's my right. So just that, like there were times where it was super hazy, and good was hard to find, and bad, and just using those words in those terms seemed everywhere. But I really like the one side of the rudder good, one side of the rudder bad, because I don't even think I need to say more. Like, as I expressed, it was there was a lot of that. And I've always considered myself in like, oh, and again, always in retrospect, not going into things, as pretty fearless. But it's also, I think, because of my productivity towards, like, I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to fuck up or anything. So, and kind of like we were saying, literally we, as in you and I, in my share earlier today, uh, in kind of like pushing against the good and the bad. Like, I don't know, somewhere really early on in my life, and I just got better slash worse at it. Uh, like, I didn't want to experience the worst, so I kind of did the worst, like pretty much off the hop to see like what would happen, to almost mitigate it, so I wouldn't be afraid of it. It's like, oh, the worst thing that can happen is it can break. I'm like, all right, let's break it, and then now what are you going to do? And that really applied. I really apply that to my relationships, and so with my environment, with people. Obviously, that's not so kind, but I never did it out of unkindness. But when you like find yourself doing stupid ass shit, and you're like, why did I fucking do that? I learned I was unconsciously, really just being like, what's the limit of your kindness? And I really only ever did that because I could sense that it was there. Right? It's not fucking testing. I hate that cliche. It's like, oh, they were testing yourself. If you fucking test me, I'm gonna punch you in your face. Don't fucking test me. Life gives us enough tests. Let's just like do those. Uh, and really, that's more or less what I did too. It wasn't intentionally, consciously being like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen. Or I ever did something as a challenge that I didn't mean. No, I was myself in a meaningful way. It may have been extreme or a little stupid or goofy or whatever the instance called for, but I was still being myself. And if I could be myself, and even if it wasn't the most like tactful or appropriate or whatever, and I could be unloved, then I wasn't loved in the first place. Oh, I like that. Arc is also plugged into with no wires. Oh, skipping stones between holes and current. Oh, batteries is an arc and pause motor storage. Oh, Dave. Oh man. Oh, we're gonna have a lot of fun in the days and times and adventures to come. I know it. It's obvious. It's like really, we wouldn't be here. I think you can relate and experience. It's like for a while, and still more or less in like my present physical environment, you have to have there's something really self-loving about anyone that can basically withstand being around me, even in this way, for very long. There can be a distorted perception of that, but then it'll express itself, at least to me, in my level of engagement. And I'm just really fucking digging our in sync chronicity. Oh my god, yeah. Even color gives away secrets when raining and shining, bridging the overlap and the undivide. Buddy, 100%. In the rain, like unrefracting of a nature, right? Or providing another spherical plane of interference patterning, because what's deconstructive, constructive is all relative to the environment. And try as you might, Mother Nature, abhors being fucking talked down to. So she's going to rain in your parade and be like, rainbow. Like a little food for thought / nugget that I think you'll appreciate. Rainbow isn't, and I don't know, actually, I might have actually shared this with you before, but here I go. a rainbow isn't like white light split into very many colors. When we see a rainbow, we're seeing one color. We describe something like that using the word chromatic, but it's like our skin's chromatic. Indeed, brother. And that cosmic black hole, I fucking love it. Fuck. We're fucking totally fucking longboarding this. Also because before I started this share, I was listening to Soundgarden's Black Hole Sun. So the galactic center at 24 to 26 degrees Sagittarius is the center of the Milky Way. At 15 degrees, 14 degrees rather, 15 degrees Sagittarius is the great attractor, the gravitational anomaly, the black hole. So what in just adding on to like yes, what you just said, like, and then so if you consider a spiral, right? Like a spiral, this spiral of the galaxy is just a filament, and I know you know this, is itself a filament. Or I guess that's useful to do that. The galaxy is just a filament of a greater, like local group, super cluster motherfucker, right? So the center of the galaxy, 26, 24 degrees, is, and its center is like that, the zero line or the 0 point or the point of the cancellation. I can't remember the fucking words for it. That can be found spiraling around something further or greater or whatever, which is the great attractor, which is itself another kind of center line. So the galaxy is doing its spiral dance with the galactic center being our own center, and then just through the vantage is what we call the great attractor, is really just like is what the galaxy is rotating around. And it might be the whole fucking universe. Like I don't actually, in my experience, because it turns out your consciousness is a time-space spaceship. There's like, I think another couple at least, as far as it's useful. I want to say like those like greater gateways. But again, it's like when does it stop being useful? It's when I stop like giving a shit. But oh god, I couldn't relate to you more as far as like the joke, the cosmic joke. Yeah, I have no doubt of that. I can feel the resonance, kind of like how I was describing before, in what comes through in your communication, whether it's here with me or we're hanging out with MJ, is the accumulation of your courage and the innocent and complete void of naivety in your fearlessness. It's like, it's intelligence. Right, exactly. Like, and then what we call the UN state, like, as far as I'm concerned, like, it's useful to be like, none of that fucking matters. And then it's also useful in different contexts to be like, well, let's give names to things. Let's give labels to things, so that I'm going to say so we can play, but I don't mean to take any perceived gravity away from life. And in like summation, I would use the UN, like just like you are, the UNA per key. I'm just like fucking trying to fuck with the algorithms basically in case. I don't really care. We're stronger than that. Because as opposed to the VAT of ICANN, because in my perception they're in league of nations. But I really appreciate the UN tier, because whether you want to go a little higher, whether you want to go a little lower, like that, that tier is substantial enough in everyone's perception to be the most usefully recognized as the present system of deceptive manipulation, like control arc. I think that's it. I scroll all the way down. Yep. I think that's it. I think I want to thank you, Dave, as always. And I also want to thank the brother in arms, homeboys crossed, Isaac, who sent me an email to ask me this question. I strive to be challenging. Because that's the best stuff. That's the best people, the best stuff. Everything, like it's instant gratification is coming too quickly. I said it. And why it's like doubly funny. It's like been there. I was like, I want to come quickly when I want to come quickly, and I want to not come quickly when I don't want to come quickly. So like, is there things that I can learn that can help me have control over that? Turns out there are. So fucking learn it, and not, instead of looking for a pill or some authorship designing to take your own choice of the matter away from you, you know? And I have offered my own services, because like, honestly, I'll help anyone for free. There, I said it too. Because of what I asked people to pay is not with money, but their intention and their energy, and not to give to me, but to give of themselves to themselves, and then offer that maybe into my observation, so that we can share in what we're observing. And it might seem a simple thing to like to read the description and see that like I've got my email there, you know, shoot me an email if you've got anything. And it's almost never taken, almost never been taken like that upon, that offer's never been really taken by someone. Fuck. And so I just like, I want to thank Isaac, especially for overcoming those aspects of himself that would have tried to make it difficult to not, would have made it easier to just say fuck it, or not try, or not care, or not believe in good, and just not like be willing to take the chance to reach out and see what happens, you know? to be not like attached, but also patient with the divine timing with which I come to the reply. You know, I resonate with that so hard. So really, really specially, thank you for joining me, Isaac, but also you, my fellow tree embracer, Dave. I look forward to all the laughs we'll continue to share, and it's maybe it's because I haven't done it as much recently, but I want to take this moment also to thank you who's seeing this, that's here too. Because if you take the best of what I've said to describe the best of what I know, then you'll receive what I'm giving as my best attempts to honor you as well, as my inspiration for awesome and the manifestation of what I tricked Pandora into letting go. I hope. Because I'm a sucker for beauty. And it turns out that although this camera's faced one way, I can actually see you. And you're really beautiful. So I guess I'm a sucker for you. Oh, I like that. Oh, that's even. Oh, Dave. Gosh, I feel like I'm leaving with a loot bag. Oh, the unstate. Oh, 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 that is so good. Brr, that's so good. I have to come back and read the rest of it because I was just, that you saw that. I was like, ugh. Outwards and back in. Centripetal, centrifugal. Hyperchoroidal, as well as hyperthyroidal, as well as just thyroidal, and just choroidal. Okay. I'm gonna go walk my dog. Literally, not beat off. Celibacy. Fuck. Although, you know what? It's a lot easier than fake trauma. I'll choose it any day, which is why I do. Love only. Yeah, you actually really did. By how you've connected to the way that I like perceive and construct using that state as well, might actually be like the kind of like precipice of like but also the way that you said it took the way I use it and then was like, oh yeah, like just turn it a little bit like that and then see right too. I'm like, yeah. Oh god, because it took my perception of what I thought you meant, added that, then what you added, and then all combined together and like, oh, stew, baby, stew. You too, brother. You too. Like deep honor. Oh, like really my pleasure. Thank you for the earnest enjoyment, the laughter. And to all of us, as us and each other, I fucking love you. I love us. And I can't wait to do this across from you. That's it. Love and peace. More love, though. You.